Hello everyone, my name is Nelson Davis. I'm with Motorcar Parts of America. And today we're going to go through a complete brake inspection process on this 2016 Honda Civic. First, we want to just talk a little bit about the importance of a complete thorough brake inspection on a vehicle. And it is critical before you can give your customer an estimate on the repairs that they need on the vehicle, or if you're a do-it-yourself technician and you're working on the car yourself, before you do any repairs to the vehicle, it is vitally important and vitally critical that you do a complete thorough brake inspection on that vehicle. That would include inspecting the underhood components of the brake system. All four wheels need to be removed, and we're going to inspect the brake components at all four wheels, and even an undercar inspection of various brake system components. You want to take your time when we're doing this. You don't want to rush so that nothing is overlooked. Also, as part of your brake inspection process, if you're a professional repair shop especially, it's important to start off by interviewing your customer, trying to get as much information and detail from them as possible about the type of brake problem they're concerned with. Why are they bringing the vehicle into you today for a brake inspection or a brake problem on their vehicle? Is it a lone, soft, spongy pedal? Or are they hearing noise? Does the car pull to one side or another during braking? Are there any warning lights in the dash that might indicate a brake system problem on the vehicle? So all that information is going to go a long ways towards helping you focus your brake inspection on the areas that really the customer is concerned with. If they don't have any complaints, they feel it's time to get a routine brake inspection. Perhaps the last time they had the vehicle in your shop, you noticed the brakes were getting close to being worn out, and you suggested that they bring it back and have a brake inspection done later. Also, something that we strongly suggest you do is before you actually bring the vehicle in the shop for that brake inspection, is you take it on what we call a pre-inspection test drop. We'll be using various tools that you see here, then brake pad wear gauges, a micrometer to measure the thickness of the brake rotors. We have a brake fluid tester, so we could test the condition of the brake fluid on the vehicle, torque wrenches, and also something that's critically important are brake system specifications. So we have torque specifications for the lug nuts, for the caliper bolts, for the brake rotors, okay? Minimum thickness specifications, runout specifications for the brake rotors themselves when we make those measurements to compare to the vehicle manufacturer specification. So with that, we're going to get started here in just a minute, and we'll go through a complete brake inspection process on this Honda. Okay, so we always like to start our brake inspection process under the hood. And typically what we're looking for here are any signs of leakage or damage to the brake booster, the brake master cylinder area, especially if the customer has a complaint of a low, soft, spongy pedal, which might indicate a leak or perhaps a problem with the master cylinder. So with a flashlight, we can get in here and look closely for any signs of leakage or damage around the master cylinder and the brake booster area. It's also a great idea when you're under the hood to test and inspect the brake fluid in the vehicle, okay? Obviously you can visually examine the brake fluid, and if it looks dark and discolored, that might be an indication that the brake fluid needs to be serviced, maybe it needs to be flushed. But to be honest with you, you can't always tell just by looking at the condition of the brake fluid visually. Sometimes you need to go a little bit further and you need to actually test the brake fluid. So we're going to insert this probe in there a little bit and just look at it. So we've got 4 out of about 10 different bars. So really we're down here at the less than 2% range. So we're okay. As you can see, the okay is actually highlighted here. Anything 3% above would mean you'd have more of the bar graph showing the indicator would be higher. And it might even beep if it's excessive, which would indicate excessive moisture content in that brake fluid, which is a good measure of the condition of the brake fluid and would indicate that it really needs to be flushed. So in this case, the brake fluid looks pretty well. It doesn't have excessive moisture content. So that's, again, kind of the start of our brake inspection process. Underneath the hood, looking at the brake fluid, testing the brake fluid, looking for any signs of damage or leakage around the master cylinder brake booster area. Okay, so the next part of the inspection is to obviously get the vehicle up in the air, remove all wheels. We want to make sure we inspect the brake system components at all wheel locations. It's critical you inspect the whole entire brake system, as we mentioned earlier. So we'll start with the front disc brake inspection. And most of it is a visual inspection. A flashlight helps so you can get an up-close view of things. We also have a few tools that we're going to use here. We want to inspect the condition of the brake rotor for any obvious physical damage, if it's scarred or scored, if there's excessive heat cracking or heat checking. Then we want to inspect the brake pads. Obviously, the thickness of the brake pads is what we're primarily looking at here. We have some of these wear gauges that can be useful and helpful. Obviously, green means good, yellow means cautious, and red means they need to be replaced. So in this particular vehicle, you can slide that brake inspection gauge in there. If it fits in there, okay, we're good to go. That's green, okay? We want to inspect the brake hose also. Any damage there? Any signs of leakage? Is it swollen? Are there any bubbles in there or any soft, weak spots? We want to examine the brake caliper for any signs of leakage, any fluid leakage. You may have to get around the bottom area. Now, most vehicles, but not all, will have an inspection hole there. So that allows you to inspect both the inner brake pad and, of course, the outer brake pad here. Sometimes it's useful and helpful to take it a further step, disconnect the brake caliper mounting bolts and pivot it out of the way. So now you can get a much more up-close view of those brake pads, and you can really see the condition of them. You can look for signs of uneven wear in the brake pads, where maybe the inner pad is worn more than the outer pad. So sometimes pivoting that brake caliper out of the way, actually unbolting it, gives you a much more up-close, much more accurate, much more precise view of the condition of the brake pads. And it allows you to inspect the brake caliper hardware also, right? The dust boots, are they torn or damaged in any way? You can get a much more up-close view of that brake caliper piston. Is it damaged in any way? Are there any signs of leakage? Okay, we also, of course, want to measure the thickness of our brake rotor to determine if it's serviceable or not, or it needs to be replaced or not. So I have a micrometer here. I can insert it in this back of the brake rotor, and I can actually measure the minimum thickness of the brake rotor. And it helps to measure this in several locations around the circumference of the brake rotor to determine if it has thickness variation. Okay, so in this case, we're at 0.901. We'll just rotate the brake rotor again, 0.901. So there doesn't appear to be any thickness variation in this rotor. I think the manufacturer specifications for this rotor, the minimum thickness specifications are 0.827. So it's above specification. The rotor's good. It can be serviced. Doesn't necessarily need to be replaced. The pads look pretty good. As I mentioned, they look nice and thick. They passed with our brake pad wear indicator gauge. So that's the basic process, the basic steps for doing a disc brake inspection.